Namaste one and all. Today I am planning to explain about the pre-art sector lending guidelines. Here, pre-art sector lending guidelines as updated from time to time by Reserve Bank of India. So many pages are there in that circular, but today I am going to concentrate only regarding various targets, only targets, not the other points, only targets for small and marginal farmers targets, weaker sections targets, priority sector targets, agriculture targets, micro enterprises targets, etc., related to domestic commercial banks, excluding RRBs, SFBs, and foreign banks with 20 branches and above, foreign banks with less than 20 branches operating in India, and regional rural banks, small finance banks, urban cooperative banks, like that. Individually, whatever related those all, I will explain in this video. And before going to the detailed discussion about this, I request you all, please watch our videos, all related banking topics in our YouTube channel, Suvarna Chundi. Particularly for Punjab National Bank and Union Bank of India, clerical to officer examination purpose, these particular targets I am going to explain you all. Punjab National Bank is going to conduct a promotion exam on 28th January and 18th February 2024. Union Bank of India is going to conduct a promotion exam for clerical to scale 1. Here, the targets and sub-targets set under priority sector lending to be computed on the basis of the ANBC bar CEOBE as applicable as on the corresponding date of the preceding year. Now we will tell. Here main percentage most important. Suppose if we are telling priority sector total target is 40%, means 40% of corresponding date of the preceding year. That is most important point. Of either ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is applicable here, already told. The targets and sub-targets set under priority sector lending to be computed on the basis of the ANBC bar CEOBE as applicable as on the corresponding date of the preceding year. First we will go for domestic commercial banks excluding RRBs and SFBs. SFBs means small finance banks. That I will tell you separately. And RRBs also, regional rural banks also I will tell you separately. And also UCBs also I will tell you separately. Here, domestic commercial banks and foreign banks with 20 branches and above, those whose banks are working, foreign banks in India. That is the most important point. For these I am telling first, total priority sector target for domestic commercial banks along with foreign banks with 20 branches and above. This is 40% of ANBC as computed or CEOBE, whichever is higher. So 40% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, total priority sector target. And next, agriculture target. Agriculture target is 18% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, out of which a target of 10% is prescribed for small and marginal farmers. You all know who are the small farmers and who are the marginal farmers. That we will discuss later. And next, micro enterprises. All micro enterprise loans target should be reached 7.5% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Advances to weaker section. It is 12% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. So please note down all the four types of targets. One is total priority sector, second one is agriculture, third one is micro enterprises, fourth one is advances to weaker sections. This I have told just now regarding domestic commercial banks. Now I am going to explain about foreign banks with branches less than 20 branches. Foreign banks, those operating in India with less than 20 branches. About 20 branches already we have discussed. So as usual here, total priority sector target for foreign banks with less than 20 branches, 40% of ANBC as computed or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Of course, same is applicable to about 20 branches also. But here, less than 20 branches, what is the difference? This is most important. Any promotion exam or jaiib or caiib, they may ask. Out of which up to 32% can be in the form of lending to exports. So out of 40%, 32% can be in the form of lending to exports. And not less than 8% can be any other priority sector. That means total out of 40%, 32% should be for towards lending to exports. Here, below 20 branches of foreign banks, agriculture is not applicable. Please note down, agriculture is not applicable. That means agriculture, there is no target specially. Micro enterprise also not applicable. And advances to weaker sections also not applicable. So, in the case of foreign banks with less than 20 branches, only total priority sector target only is there. That is 40% already explained. Out of that 32% towards exports and 8% towards other priority sector, any other priority sector. But not agriculture. Agriculture, there is no specifically targets given. Like that, micro enterprise also not given. Advances to weaker sections also not given for below 20 foreign banks with less than 20 branches. Now we will go for regional rural banks. Like that, total priority sector targets, agriculture, micro enterprises and advances to weaker section. Only targets I am covering in this video. And here, for regional rural banks, 75% of ANBC as computed, of course, or CEOBE, whichever is higher. In all cases, whichever is higher only, not lower. However, lending to medium enterprises, social infrastructure and renewable energy shall be reckoned for priority sector achievement only up to 15% of ANBC. So, here for regional rural banks, total priority sector target is 75%. Not unlike for commercial banks or foreign banks with less than 20 branches, that is 40% only, here 75%. But out of that 75% also, medium enterprises, social infrastructure and renewable energy shall be reckoned for priority sector achievement only up to 15% of ANBC. Next, as usual, agriculture. You know, RRBs totally they are serving rural India maximum and agriculture advances target as usual 18% ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Of course, out of which a target of 10% is prescribed for SMFs. Micro enterprises, of course, it is for RRBs like domestic banks and more than 20 branches, whatever the target is there, the same target here also for micro enterprises, 7.5% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Like that, advances to weaker section, whereas for domestic banks and more than 20 foreign branches, 12% was there. Here, 15% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. This is for RRBs. So RRBs in nutshell, total priority sector target is 75%, agriculture is 18%, of course out of 18%, 10% is prescribed for SMFs, SMF, small and marginal farmers, and micro enterprises 7.5%, advances to weaker section is 15%. Now we will go for small finance banks. What are the targets given by RBI or Government of India? Total priority sector target for small finance banks Like RRB cities also, 75% of A and BC as computed below given, of course, that is given in the circular. How to compute A and BC, that I will explain in one or the other video of my future videos. And here 75% of A and BC are CEOBE, whichever is higher. Here, like domestic banks, small finance banks also same 75% only. There is no sub targets like less than foreign branches, 20 branches, foreign branches there. Sub targets are there, 32% towards export and 8% towards other priority sector. Whereas in case of RRBs, 75% of A and BC are CEOBE, whichever is higher. Of course, there up to 15% only in case of RRBs, medium enterprises, lending to medium enterprises, social infrastructure, renewable energy, to be reckoned under priority sector, only 15%. Whereas for small finance banks, only 75%, there is no other sub-targets. That is most important for a total priority sector. Agriculture. Next, agriculture targets. For small finance banks, agriculture target like others, it is like RRBs, 18% of A and BC are CEOBE, whichever is higher, out of which a target of 10% is prescribed for SMFs. Like same RRBs also 18%, out of which a target of 10% is towards small and marginal farmers advances. In case of micro enterprises, that is the third point in the targets, for small finance banks, same, almost all like domestic banks, and whereas RRBs also same. This is also same, 7.5% of A and BC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Next, we will go for advances to weaker sections. Why? Because I am telling again and again, these targets are most important for your promotion exam as well as your jaiib and caiib also. Advances to weaker section, domestic banks, it is 12% of A and BC or CEOBE. Of course, below 20 branches of foreign banks not applicable. For RRBs, it is 15%. Whereas for small finance banks, it is 12% of A and BC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Here, most important, of course, here 4 points we have discussed. One is priority sector, second is agriculture, third is micro enterprise, fourth one is advances to weaker sections. Here we are again going for some other targets for lending. The targets for lending to SMFs and for weaker sections shall be revised upwards from financial year 2021-22 onwards as follows. During the financial year 2020-21, small and marginal farmers target is or was 8%. Weaker sections target 10%. For 2021-22 financial year, small and marginal farmers target was 9%, whereas weaker sections target was 11%. For the financial year 2022-23, small and marginal farmers target was 9.5%, whereas weaker sections target was 11.5%. For the year 2023-24, it will be for small and marginal farmers target 10%, whereas weaker sections target is 12%. So, by 2023-24, small and marginal farmers target will be 10%, whereas weaker sections target will be 12%. Here some important points still are there. Those I am just informing you. These particular small and marginal farmers targets for UCBs not applicable. Here in this one, for UCBs not applicable, whereas related to weaker sections target, here given 23-24 is 12%, whereas weaker section targets for RRBs will continue to be 15% of A and BC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, as usual. So these targets out of these financial years, whatever given, 2020-21, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, regarding small and marginal farmers target and weaker sections target for the finally for 2024 ending financial year will be 10% and 12%. But these are not applicable, particularly small and marginal farmers target is not applicable for UCBs, which I will again explain in this video itself. And for weaker section targets for RRBs, it will be 15% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. So far, we have discussed about various targets under priority sector lending related to domestic commercial banks and foreign banks with 20 branches and above, and foreign banks with less than 20 branches, regional rural banks and small finance banks. Various type of categories are total priority sector, agriculture, micro enterprises and advances to weaker sections. In advances to weaker sections and small and marginal farmers also, separate year-wise 2020 onwards up to 2024, various targets are there. That also we have discussed so far. Now we are going for next urban cooperative banks. What are the targets given to urban cooperative banks by RBI or Government of India? In case of urban cooperative banks, primary urban cooperative banks, categories are, one category is not given, only three. That is one is total priority sector and micro enterprises and advances to weaker sections. In this case, agriculture specially not given. For primary urban cooperative banks, 40% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, in financial year 2019-20, which shall stand increased to 75% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, with effect from financial year 2025-2026. UCBs shall comply with this stipulated target as per the following milestones. And I will now tell you about year-wise targets of total priority sector targets for primary urban cooperative banks. Of course, already I have told 2019-20, it was only 40% of priority sector target, 40% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Like that, 2020-21, it was 45%, and 2021-22, it was 50%, 2020-23, of course, 2022-23, 60%, and for this year, 2023-24, also 60%, and 2024-25, it will be 65%, whereas finally, for the financial year 2025-2026, it will be finally, it should reach 75% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher, for primary urban cooperative banks related to total priority sector. Now it is very clear from the 2019-20 onwards, within 7 years of 2025-26, it will be gradually increasing to 75%. Now, in case of primary urban cooperative banks, there will not be any agriculture targets specially, and micro enterprises target is there. That is for all the years, of course, from 2019-20 onwards up to 2025-26, it is 7.5% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. So micro enterprise as usual, like all others, 7.5%. And in case of advances to weaker section, 12% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. The revised targets for weaker sections will be implemented in a phased manner as indicated below gradually. Like priority sector also, it is also given year-wise, 2019-2020, 20-21, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, 24-25, 25-26. Gradually it is in a phased manner, it is increasing to 12%. Whereas in 19-20, it was only 10%. Afterwards, every year, for 2020-21, it is just 11%, and 21-22, it was 11.5, whereas 22-23 also 11.5. This present year, 23-24, also 11.5. In 24 and 25, it will be 11.75, and finally for the financial year 25-26, it will be 12%. That is final target for weaker section for primary urban cooperative banks. And before almost all I am going to conclude this video, I request you all to please watch all our videos related to banking topics in our YouTube channel Suvarna Chundi, to know what are the latest developments in the banking industry, and particularly for banks, various types of new things which it is going on. You will come to know through our videos. I have taken every care to follow RBI guidelines which are latest only, and most of our videos related to banking topics and useful for bankers. Of course, it is useful for, as usual, general public also in some videos like locker rules and all, and related to SARFAESI also I have explained. Here finally I am before concluding, all domestic banks other than UCBs and foreign banks with more than 20 branches are directed to ensure that the overall lending to non-corporate farmers, NCFs, does not fall below the system-wide average of the last 3 years achievement, which will be separately notified every year. For the present year, of course, present year means 22-23, the applicable target for lending to the non-corporate farmers for financial year 2022-23 was 13.78% of ANBC or CEOBE, whichever is higher. Of course, all efforts should be made by banks to increase the farm credit higher than the NCF target. Only for the 2022-23, the target given other than UCBs and also, of course, foreign banks with more than 20 branches for non-corporate farmers was 13.78%. This is most important. You may get this question also in your examination. Recently, one RRB examination over in the last Sunday. In that one, they have asked one question: priority sector lending targets based on, that means corresponding date of that particular. Usually, suppose it is for June quarter target, means last year June quarter and whatever the figures are there, on that one these targets will be there. For September means September, like that December means December, or March means March, like that these targets will be there. So that already I have in the first itself in my video, this video, I told that the targets and sub-targets set under priority sector lending to be computed on the basis of the ANBC or CEOBE as applicable as on the corresponding date of the preceding year. That means quarterly. If it is quarterly means June quarter, September quarter, December quarter and March quarter, like that. Thank you very much one and all, and I especially thank you for watching this video, since this is only covered only for targets, and of course various limits are there that I will cover in my next video, and various various definitions also there in priority sector. Those also I will tell, like who is the small farmer, who is the marginal farmer, what is that warehouse receipts, ENWR, what is ENWR. These all, so many points are there, and I will explain in my next video. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much.